The war came without warning. One moment, the stars above the colony world of Velmara were peaceful. The next, fire rained from the sky. Explosions shook the ground as the defense towers failed one by one. The sky turned red with smoke. People ran. Alarms screamed. The alien girl named Celia hid in the ruins of the science dome, holding her breath, her silver hair covered in dust. Celia was not a soldier. She was a translator for the council. Her job was to learn other languages and understand their meanings, not to fight. But when the sky shattered and the enemy ships landed, none of that mattered. The invaders were not from any known faction. Their armor was black and featureless. Their weapons, melted walls. They moved in silence, killing without speaking. Celia saw her friends fall before she ran. Now she hid, heart pounding, ears twitching with every sound. Her kind had always been safe. Velmara was considered a neutral zone, but that peace was a lie. The attackers wanted something hidden beneath the surface, something even she didn't know. The council was gone. The guards were gone. Celia was alone. Until she heard the sound. It wasn't like the enemy's machines. It was heavy, metallic, and slow. Someone was walking through the smoke. At first, she thought it was another enemy. She crawled back under a broken console, holding her breath. Again. But the figure didn't attack. Instead, it moved toward the fallen soldiers and examined them. Then it turned toward her hiding spot. She saw boots first, not like theirs. Thick, scratched, built for rough terrain. Then armor, black but with glowing red dots moving across it like fireflies. The figure bent down, revealing a helmet with a long crack across the visor. Slowly, the helmet was removed. What Celia saw made her heart stop. It was a human. She had only seen pictures of them in the archives. Deathworlders, they were called. Humans came from a world full of danger, fire, storms, and wild beasts. Everyone in the galaxy feared them or avoided them. They were strong, unpredictable, and stubborn. And one was now looking at her with eyes like storm clouds. "You hurt?" he asked, voice rough. Celia blinked. She didn't expect kindness. She didn't expect words. She nodded slowly, unsure if this was real. The human reached into a pouch and tossed her a small metal pack. "Medkit, use it." "Why are you here?" she whispered. "Wrong ship," he said. "I was taken by them too. Escaped. Now I'm taking them down." Celia looked at him, confused. "You are fighting them? Alone?" He nodded. "That's what I do." She crawled out, still scared, but drawn to him. He was different. His presence felt like a shield. The air around him was heavy, like the air before a storm. "What's your name?" she asked. "Dane," he replied. "You?" "Celia." He stood, scanning the area. "We move. It's not safe here." "I don't have weapons," she said. He handed her a small blaster. "Now you do." She followed him, her heart still racing. The enemy had come to destroy her world. But now, by some strange twist of fate, she was walking beside a human, a Deathworlder, the kind of being her people warned about in old tales. The kind who could burn a city or save it with the same hand. But he wasn't like the stories. He was real. He was calm. And for some reason, he had saved her. Celia didn't know why. She didn't know what they were walking into. But for the first time since the sky burned, she felt a flicker of hope, and she didn't even know his full story yet. Celia had never moved so fast in her life. She stayed close behind Dane as they slipped through the smoking ruins of Velmara's outer district. Each step was a gamble. One wrong move, and the enemy might spot them. But the human walked with confidence, his weapon ready, eyes sharp. His presence felt solid, like a wall against the chaos. She had so many questions, but none seemed safe to ask. What mattered now was staying alive. Dane stopped near a collapsed building. He raised a hand, signaling her to stay low. She crouched beside him, holding the small blaster tight. Her fingers trembled. She had never fired a weapon before. He looked at her briefly and then scanned the street with a device that hummed quietly. "There's a patrol ahead," he said. "3 of them. Heavy armor. Not good." "We should go around," she whispered. "Too slow. They'll sweep the area." Celia's ears twitched nervously. "Then what do we do?" "I distract," he said. "You stay hidden. If I go down, you run." She grabbed his arm. "No, I can't just watch you. You want both of us dead?" Her mouth closed. She hated it, but he was right. Dane moved like a shadow. He crossed the street, picked up a piece of broken metal and hurled it far into the distance. The noise echoed loud. The enemy patrol turned toward the sound. Then Dane struck. He dropped the first with a quick blast to the neck joint. The second turned too slow. Dane tackled him with brutal force, slamming him to the ground and breaking his helmet with a crushing blow. The third raised a weapon, but Celia didn't think. She pulled the trigger. The small blaster kicked back hard. A red bolt struck the enemy in the side. He stumbled, and Dane finished him with a clean shot. Silence returned. Celia stood frozen, her arms shaking. She had fired. She had hit something. And for the first time, she felt the weight of war in her bones. Dane walked back, giving her a firm nod. "Good timing." "I didn't mean to," she started. "You did what you had to," he said. "That's what matters." They moved again deeper into the ruins until they reached a broken tunnel. Dane led her inside, switching on a small light. The tunnel was cold and dark. Water dripped from the ceiling, but it was hidden. Safe for now. They sat on the ground, breathing heavy. Celia finally found her voice again. "How did you end up here?" she asked. He stared at the wall, as if choosing his words. "Captured. A long way from here. They were using me, studying me, testing how much a human could survive." Her breath caught. "They tortured you?" He nodded once. "Didn't break." She looked at his scars, the burn marks on his armor, and the way he moved like someone who'd seen too much. He was dangerous, yes, but also controlled. She wondered how much pain he had hidden under that hard face. "My people thought humans were monsters," she said quietly. "Too violent. Too wild." "We are," he replied, "sometimes. But you saved me. I don't like seeing innocent people die," he said, "even if they're not human." For a moment there was quiet between them. Then Celia asked something she hadn't dared before. "Why help me at all?" He looked at her, his eyes calm, but tired. "Because if I don't, no one will." She stared at him. This man, this Deathworlder, was not like anything she had imagined. He was fierce, yes, deadly, but also kind in his own quiet way. Something changed in her heart that moment. She no longer feared him. She trusted him, and she knew that whatever came next, she would stand beside him, even if it meant going through fire, because somehow he had become her shield in a world that had burned to ash. The tunnel stretched deep beneath the ruined city. Celia followed Dane closely, the small blaster still in her hand. Her fingers no longer trembled, but her heart beat fast. She wasn't used to danger or darkness or long silences filled only by the sound of distant rumbling above them. But with Dane ahead, she didn't feel helpless. She felt like she had a chance. "Where does this tunnel lead?" she asked. "Old transport route," Dane said. "It should come out near the communication towers. If we're lucky, one of them still works. You want to send a signal?" He nodded. "I need to let someone know I'm alive. And if anyone's listening, maybe they'll send help. For both of us." Celia frowned. Why would anyone care about one Deathworlder and one alien girl? Dane glanced back at her. Sometimes it only takes 2 to change things. They kept walking. The tunnel was cracked in places. Some areas had caved in. They had to climb over rubble and crawl through tight spaces. At one point, Celia slipped and cut her hand on jagged metal. She bit back a cry. Dane turned, saw the blood, and pulled out a bandage. "Hold still." He wrapped her hand quickly. His touch was rough but gentle. She looked at him as he worked. His armor was scratched and his eyes were tired, but there was no fear in him. No panic, just focus. "You've done this before," she said softly. He didn't look up. "Too many times." They moved again, reaching a section where the tunnel opened into a maintenance room. The walls were scorched, signs of battle, broken weapons, blood. Celia stepped over a helmet with a long crack through it and turned her face away. "Was this your doing?" she asked. "Some of it," Dane said. "They tried to cut me off when I escaped. Didn't end well for them." She stared at him. "How are you still alive?" He gave a faint smirk. "Human biology. Tough skin. Stubborn brain." She laughed a little. It surprised both of them. "I guess we needed one of your kind after all," she said. He looked at her for a moment, then turned back toward the next corridor. "Let's keep moving." As they walked, they began to hear something, faint at first, then louder. Voices. Not enemy soldiers. These were alien voices. Celia's people. Survivors. She rushed ahead, but Dane grabbed her arm and pulled her back. "Wait. They're my people," she said. "Or it's a trap," he replied. She paused, torn between hope and fear. Dane moved forward slowly, taking cover behind a collapsed pipe. He watched the figures approach, 2 females and 1 older male, covered in dirt, wounded but alive. "They're real," he said. "You can go." Celia ran to them. The older female cried out in joy and hugged her tightly. They had worked in the tower together before the attack. Tears fell. For a moment it felt like life had returned. Then they saw Dane. They went silent. Eyes narrowed. The older male raised a shaking weapon. "Stay back," he warned. "That's a human." "He's with me," Celia shouted. "He saved me." "He's dangerous," the man replied. "So is everything outside," she snapped. "But he didn't hurt me, he protected me." Dane stood calmly, saying nothing. Celia turned to her people. "He's going to help us reach the tower, and if any of you try to stop him, I'll go alone." There was silence. Then slowly the others lowered their weapons. The man nodded. "We follow you then, but we keep our eyes on him." "That's fine," Dane said. "I keep my eyes on everyone." They started moving as one group, tension thick between them. Celia walked beside Dane, her voice quiet. "They'll come around. I don't need them to like me," he said. "Just don't get in my way." She smiled. "You're not like anyone I've ever met." He looked forward. "That's probably a good thing." And as the group moved deeper into the dark, the human led them, not with kindness or promises, but with strength. And in a world full of fear, that was enough. The path to the surface grew more dangerous. The deeper they went, the more signs of battle they found. Burned doors, torn armor, smashed helmets. Something brutal had happened underground. Celia kept glancing at Dane, wondering how much of this destruction came from him alone. The group followed in silence. No one wanted to speak. The older man, Ralek, kept throwing cold stares at Dane, his weapon always close. The 2 women whispered among themselves, but stayed quiet when Dane came near. Only Celia seemed unafraid. She stayed beside the human, her eyes alert, her steps matching his pace. At a broken shaft they stopped. The tunnel had collapsed. Above them, a narrow service ladder led into darkness. "We climb," Dane said. Ralek stepped forward. "We can't all go at once." "No," Dane replied. "I'll go first, check the exit, you follow when I signal." "And how do we know you won't leave us behind?" Ralek asked sharply. Dane looked him in the eye. "You don't." Then he climbed. Celia watched him disappear into the shadows, her heart tight. A few minutes passed. Then a soft light blinked 3 times from above. "He's signaling," Celia whispered. They climbed one by one. Celia went next, her hands slipping on the cold rungs. Her injured palm stung, but she didn't stop. When she reached the top, she found Dane standing in an old control room, rifle raised, watching every angle. She stepped in and caught her breath. "We're clear?" she asked. For now, the others followed. The room was full of dust and silence. Old control panels blinked weakly. Some monitors still worked, showing parts of the city. Fires still burned. Enemy patrols moved like shadows. "This is a monitoring station," Celia said. "I know this place. The communication array is on the roof." "Can you operate it?" Dane asked. She nodded. "Yes, but it needs power." Dane walked to the panel, checked the fuses. "We'll need time." Rollick stepped forward. "Then we'll guard the room." "You can barely hold your weapon," Dane replied. "I'll still stand," the old man growled. Dane didn't argue. He returned to the panel and began working with Celia. Together, they rewired broken systems, rerouted cables, and replaced power cells. Celia felt a strange peace working beside him. His hands were steady, his voice calm. In this ruined world, he was like solid ground. Suddenly, an alarm blinked red. "Motion sensor," Dane said. "They're coming." "How many?" Celia asked. He checked the feed. 6, maybe more. "We can't finish the repairs in time," she said. "We hold them off," Dane replied. He turned to the others. "Hold this room, no matter what." Rollick nodded, stepping to the doorway with his blaster. The two women took cover behind metal crates. Dane moved to the front, rifle ready. Celia looked at him. "Are we going to survive this?" He didn't answer, just gave her one look, a steady look, one that said he would not fall easily. Then the walls shook with the sound of boots. The door blew open. They came in fast, black armored attackers moving like machines. Dane fired first, dropping one instantly. Rollick shouted, hitting another. The women screamed but kept firing. Celia grabbed her blaster and fired too, her hands no longer shaking. The battle was close, loud, brutal. Dane fought like something out of legend. His shots were precise, his movements sharp. Even when hit in the shoulder, he kept going, dragging one attacker to the floor and smashing his helmet with his bare hands. Celia stayed low, reloading, covering the others. One of the women was hit. Rollick pulled her back. And still Dane stood. He was a storm, a force. Not a monster, but something even more terrifying to the enemy. A protector. And Celia realized something in that moment, as sparks flew and screams echoed. The galaxy feared humans because they didn't understand them. But maybe that fear was misplaced, because right now, the only thing between them and death was a Deathworlder. The room was a mess of smoke and bodies. The last attacker dropped with a thud, his armor scorched and smoking. Dane didn't move for a moment. He stood still, chest rising and falling with deep breaths. His shoulder was bleeding through the cracks in his armor, but his weapon stayed raised until he was sure every enemy was down. Celia ran to him. "You're hit." "I've had worse," he said quietly. "Let me help." He didn't argue. He sat down near the control panel while Celia opened the med kit. Her hands moved fast now, more confident than before. She cleaned the wound, patched the bleeding, and wrapped it tight. "You saved all of us," she whispered. "I just bought us time. They'll be back." Rollick limped over, helping the wounded woman. His eyes still held suspicion, but less than before. "We won't survive." "Another wave," he said. "There are too many." Dane pointed to the control panel. "Get the signal out, it's our only shot." Celia turned back to the systems. The power flickered, but the signal module had come online. She tapped the controls with steady hands. Old training kicked in. She bypassed the damaged encryption and began broadcasting. "This is Velmara Colony," she spoke clearly. "We are under attack by unknown hostile forces. Survivors are pinned in Sector 9 Upper Station. Repeat, Sector 9, please respond." The system blinked green. "Signal sent," she said. "We wait." Dane nodded. "Now we prepare." They blocked the door with crates, tools, anything heavy. Dane handed out spare power cells, showed the others how to reload. Even Rollick listened. The air was tight with tension, but something had changed. The survivors looked at Dane not with fear now, but with hope. Hours passed. The wounded woman moaned in her sleep. The others sat quietly, eyes watching the door. Celia leaned against the wall beside Dane. You should rest. I don't rest. You can close your eyes for a moment. I'll wake you. He glanced at her, then finally nodded. 5 minutes. She watched him close his eyes just for a moment. He looked younger then, not soft but less hard. She wondered what he had been before all this. A soldier? A wanderer? Or just someone who kept going no matter what? Suddenly the radio crackled. This is Coalition Ship Varkas, a voice spoke. We received your distress call approaching orbit. Who is on the ground? Celia jumped to her feet. This is Celia Vey, translator for Velmara Council. We have 5 survivors. The enemy is still active. We need extraction. Copy that. We're scanning now. Everyone stood, hope rising. The voice returned. We see movement near your position. Unknown forces approaching fast. Prepare for evac. Dropship inbound. Dane stood beside her. They're coming. Celia looked at him. Will they make it in time? I'll hold the line until they do. Before she could stop him, Dane opened the main door again. Smoke rolled in. In the distance, shapes moved through the ruins. Celia followed him outside, weapon ready. You should stay inside, he said. I'm not leaving you alone. The others joined them. Rallick took position by a broken wall. The women found cover behind scrap. Everyone waited, weapons raised. Then the enemy returned. But this time, they were ready. Dane fired first, dropping 2 in quick bursts. Celia followed, blasting at their sides. The battle lit up the night, bright flashes and burning sparks. The air smelled of smoke and melted metal. Rallick shouted orders. The others fought back with everything they had. Above them, the sky thundered. Dropship appeared, its engines roaring, light cutting through the haze. They're here, Celia cried. The ship hovered, its doors open. Ropes dropped. Go, Dane shouted. One by one, they climbed. Rallick helped the wounded. Celia was last. She turned to Dane. You're coming too. But he wasn't moving. He was still shooting. Dane. He finally turned, sprinting toward the ship. Blaster fire chased him, and then he jumped. Celia reached down, grabbed his arm. Together, they rose into the sky. Below them, the enemy vanished into smoke. Above, they flew toward stars. And for the first time, Celia saw something she never expected. A Deathworlder saving her world and risking everything to do it. The dropship flew fast above the burning world. Through the narrow window, Celia saw her home reduced to ash. Fires still burned across the cities. The forests were gone. Towers that once stood proud now lay in ruin. She sat silently, her heart heavy. Beside her, Dane sat with his arm wrapped in fresh bandages, watching the view without blinking. None of them spoke much during the flight. Rallick rested across from them, his eyes closed but his fingers still holding his weapon tight. The 2 women had fallen asleep, but their hands shook, now and then, as if their minds were still fighting even in rest. Celia broke the silence first. We made it. For now, Dane replied. The ship's pilot called back through the intercom. We'll arrive at the Coalition frigate in 4 minutes. Get ready. Celia looked at Dane. Do you trust them? I trust what they can offer, he said. Food, shelter, time to think. The moment they landed, medics rushed in. The wounded were taken away. Celia stepped out into the bright white corridor of the frigate, blinking at the clean lights. She hadn't seen anything this peaceful since the war began. But Dane didn't follow the others to the med bay. Instead, he stopped at the security checkpoint where 2 guards waited. You're coming with us, one of them said. Celia stepped forward. Why? He's not registered, the guard replied. There's no record of his mission, no orders, no ID. He saved us, she argued. Without him, we'd be dead. The guards didn't move. Dane raised a hand calmly. It's fine, he said. I knew this would happen. You're not under arrest, the guard added, but command wants answers. Dane nodded. Then let's go. As they walked away, Celia called out, I'll find you. He glanced back over his shoulder. You always do. Later, Celia sat in a debriefing room speaking to a coalition officer. She told them everything. How the enemy had attacked, how they were unlike anything in the known systems, how Dane had appeared from nowhere and helped them survive. The officer listened carefully, typing notes. This human, he said. You're sure he wasn't part of the invasion? Celia stood up angrily. He was a prisoner. They experimented on him. He escaped and saved my life. That's all you need to know. The officer nodded slowly. Very well, but we need to understand what they were doing with him. Deathworlders are unpredictable. She leaned forward. Maybe that's what saved us. After the interview, she walked the long corridors of the frigate searching. It took hours. Finally, near the lower decks, she found the room. Inside, Dane sat alone, a monitor screen in front of him showing a map of Velmara. They're already planning to leave it behind, he said, calling it a lost world. Celia stepped closer. So what now? He looked at her. They don't want to fight, not really. They want clean victories, politics. But this enemy, they don't play by those rules. Celia sat beside him. Then what do we do? He looked her in the eyes. We find out who they are, where they came from, and we stop them. You say that like it's simple. It's not, he said. But I've been running long enough. Time to hit back. She nodded. Then I'll go with you. His eyes narrowed slightly. You sure? This won't be safe. Nowhere is, she said. But you're the only one I trust. For a moment, there was silence. Then he spoke softly. You're not afraid of me anymore? No, she said. Because I've seen the monster they fear. And it's not you. He gave the smallest smile. And in that moment, Celia made her choice. Whatever came next, she would walk beside the human who broke every rule, survived the impossible, and still chose to protect a stranger. Not because he was ordered, but because he chose to. The coalition frigate drifted quietly through the stars, orbiting the broken world of Velmara. Inside, Celia stood by a wide window, staring down at the gray clouds covering the surface. Her home looked so distant now, cold, ruined, lost. But her thoughts were not on the planet anymore. They were on what came next. Dane stood beside her, arms crossed, his gaze focused on the void. I spoke with one of the coalition scouts, Celia said. They recovered pieces of enemy tech. Nothing matches any known species. Doesn't surprise me, Dane replied. They weren't from this region, or even this part of the galaxy. Celia looked at him. You know more than you've told me. He didn't deny it. Instead, he turned away and walked toward the private control room the officers had temporarily assigned to them. Celia followed him inside. Before I was captured, Dane said, powering up a stolen datapad, I was on a recon mission near the outer fringe. We picked up a strange energy signal. Something old, buried under dead systems. When we got close, everything went wrong. What happened? They were waiting, not a random attack. They knew we'd come. Celia sat down, listening closely. They took my team. I don't know who survived. I only know I woke up in a lab. They were studying, me pushing me to my limits, tracking how much a human could endure. Pain, poison, cold, hunger. And they watched it all like machines. Her breath caught. And you escaped. I broke the walls, he said simply. One day I stopped playing their game. He pulled up an image. It showed an alien symbol, curved lines like claws surrounding a glowing core. I saw this everywhere in their facility, he said, even on the soldiers' armor. Celia frowned. I've never seen this before. It doesn't match any known alliance or language. That's because it's not from our star maps. Her eyes widened. You mean beyond the border? Dane nodded. Something's coming. And Velmara was just a test. A quiet knock interrupted them. Ralek entered, his wounds now bandaged, his voice calm. The Coalition Command is sending a science team to study the ruins, he said. But they're moving slow. Politics as usual. Dane didn't even look up. They'll be too late. Then what do you suggest? We go back down first, Dane said. Rallick looked surprised. You want to return to Velmara? After all we just escaped? There's something buried there, Dane said. I saw it before the attack. They weren't just destroying the city. They were digging for something. Celia stood. I'm coming with you. No, Rallick said. You've done enough. She saved my life more than once, Dane replied. She goes. Rallick sighed. Then we all go. The next day they took a stealth shuttle down through the cloud cover. Velmara looked even worse up close. Black ash covered the ground. The forests were nothing but char. The buildings lay in pieces. They landed near the old science dome where Celia had first hidden. She stepped onto the cracked floor, memories flooding back. This way, she said. The dome had restricted lower levels. Only high-ranking researchers were allowed. They moved carefully, Dane leading with his weapon raised. Inside, they found a sealed metal hatch hidden beneath the ruins. Rallick pried it open, and a foul wind rose from below. A long tunnel stretched into the dark. Dane activated his light. Stay close. They descended together, deeper than Celia expected. The air turned colder. The walls changed, from smooth metal to black stone marked with strange symbols. Then they found it, a room filled with alien machinery. In the center, a glass pod. Inside it, a single black cube pulsing with faint light. What is that? Celia whispered. Dane stepped forward, staring at it like he'd seen it in a nightmare. It's not a weapon, he said. It's a key. Celia looked at him. A key to what? He didn't answer. But something deeper than fear settled in. The room. Something old had been disturbed, and whatever it unlocked was still watching them. The black cube pulsed faintly in its glass prison, like it was alive. No wires connected it, no labels explained it. But the deeper Celia looked into, its glow, the colder she felt, not from the air, but from something deeper, a weight on her soul. Dane stood still, staring at it. It's one of theirs, he said. One of what? Celia asked. The ones who built the signal. Rallick stepped closer, weapon raised. This is alien tech, nothing like ours. It's not just tech, Dane replied. It's ancient, older than any known empire, older than Earth's first satellites, maybe older than recorded time. Celia's voice was quiet. Then why was it under Velmara? Because Velmara was never meant to be a colony. Dane said it was a vault. Rallick frowned. A vault for what? A warning, Dane said, but someone ignored it. They looked around the chamber. The walls weren't metal anymore. They were made of dark stone, covered in etched symbols glowing dim blue. The air smelled sharp, like burnt ozone, and the moment they entered, the cube had started pulsing. It woke up, Celia said. It's reacting to us, Dane replied. No, it's reacting to me. She stepped closer to him. Why you? I don't know. But when I escaped from their labs, they said something strange. One of the scientists, if you can call them that, he said I was marked, said I triggered something they'd buried long ago. He turned to the glass pod and touched it gently. The cube pulsed faster. Celia reached for his arm. Maybe we shouldn't be here. Dane didn't move. We're already here. If we leave it, someone else will come, someone worse. Suddenly, the cube flashed bright white. The room shook. The walls trembled. Celia fell to one knee as a loud hum filled the air. Then a voice spoke, not out loud but inside their minds. You are not ready. Celia clutched her head. Did you hear that? Dane nodded slowly. Yeah, the voice returned, colder this time. The chain has been broken. The cycle is shifting. The key must not be moved. Rallick backed toward the tunnel. We shouldn't be here. This is no weapon. This is something else. Celia stood slowly, her heart pounding. Is it alive? No, Dane said. Worse, it remembers. He took a step back from the cube. The glass pod began to crack. A low sound like whispering filled the air. We triggered it, Celia said. We shouldn't have come. But the cube wasn't attacking. It was reacting, showing them flashes. Suddenly their minds were filled with images. Giant ships shaped like claws floating over ruined worlds, alien soldiers moving like shadows, and stars dying as black machines swallowed systems whole. Celia gasped. What is that? Dane breathed slowly. That's what's coming. The voice returned one last time. He carries the signal. He opened the path. The others will follow. And then everything stopped. The glow faded. The air stilled. The cube went silent again. They stood in stunned silence, the echo of those visions still burning in their minds. Celia turned to Dane. You, open something, they're coming for you. They already are, Dane said. This wasn't an attack, it was a retrieval mission. They came to get the key. But I was here first. Rollick stepped forward. Then what do we do with it? Dane looked at the cube. We take it. Celia's eyes widened. Are you sure? We can't leave it behind, he said. If they come back and find it, the war won't stop with Velmara. It'll spread. Together they pulled the cube from the glass pod. The air stayed still, but the sense of dread lingered. Celia looked at Dane one last time before they left the vault. You were never just a rescuer, were you? He didn't answer. He didn't have to. She finally understood. The Deathworlder hadn't just saved her. He had just stepped into something much bigger. And now, the whole galaxy might be next. The stealth shuttle rose from Velmara's surface, its engines quiet as it climbed through thick clouds. Inside, the lights were dim. No one spoke. The cube sat sealed inside a reinforced container at the center of the cargo hold. Even locked away, its presence could be felt. Like a quiet heartbeat. Like it was waiting. Dane sat across from it silent, his eyes fixed on the floor. His jaw was tight. Celia had never seen him this still before, not even during battle. She sat beside him. You're thinking about what we saw. I'm thinking about what comes next, he replied. Rollick was at the rear of the ship cleaning his weapon in silence. The two women survivors remained near the wall, holding on to each other. They hadn't spoken since leaving the vault. Celia didn't blame them. The pilot's voice crackled through the comm. We're approaching the Coalition frigate. Prepare for docking. Dane stood slowly. Once we land, they'll take the cube, lock it away, study it, and then pretend everything's fine. You're not going to let them, are you? Celia asked. He shook his head. They'll bury the truth, but that won't stop what's coming. When they landed, Coalition officers and scientists were already waiting. A group of heavily armed guards surrounded the shuttle, eyes on the sealed container. Step away from the artifact, one of the officers ordered. Dane didn't move. You don't even know what it is. It's evidence, the officer said. That's enough. Rollick stepped forward. If you take it without knowing what it does, you'll make it worse. We'll decide that, the officer replied coldly. Now move. Dane exchanged a look with Celia. She gave him a small nod. He stepped aside, but not before placing a tracking chip under the container. No one saw him do it, not even the guards. Later that night, Celia found Dane standing alone near the observation deck. The stars outside looked peaceful, but neither of them felt at peace. They're moving the cube to a secure vault, she said. I know, he replied. They'll study it, argue about it, and in the end, ignore the warning. Then, why let them take it? Because we need time, Dane said. We need to find the others. Celia looked confused. Others? He turned toward her. The visions showed more than war. They showed survivors, other vaults, other cubes. This isn't the only one. Her breath caught. You think there are more? I know there are, he said. And I need to find them before the enemy does. Then I'm going with you. Dane raised an eyebrow. You don't even know what we're chasing. I don't care, she said. I saw what you saw. I felt what you felt. I can't pretend it didn't happen. He stared at her for a moment, then nodded. All right, we go together. Before they could speak again, alarms blared across the ship. Red lights flashed. This is the bridge, the comm announced. Unknown vessels approaching fast. All hands to stations. Dane and Celia ran to the nearest screen. It showed dozens of ships, dark, sharp-edged, and silent, emerging from the far side of a moon. They found us, Celia whispered. Dane's voice was calm. They're not here for war. They're here for the cube. The enemy didn't hail. They didn't send demands. They opened fire immediately. The coalition frigate shook with the first impact. Defense systems kicked in, but the enemy ships moved like they were alive, dodging, weaving, attacking with perfect precision. In the chaos, Celia grabbed Dane's arm. They'll reach the vault. He looked at her, then toward the lower decks. Not if we stop them first. They ran, through the flashing halls, past shouting officers, down into the core of the ship, toward the one object that could change everything. The cube, still sealed, still waiting, and now, calling. The lower decks of the coalition frigate shook with every blast. Red warning lights blinked overhead. Emergency sirens echoed through the halls. Celia and Dane ran side by side, dodging fallen panels and sparks raining from broken pipes. Ahead, the vault holding the cube was just one level down, but the enemy was already there. When they reached the final stairway, they found 2 coalition guards down, burned, silent. Celia grabbed Dane's shoulder. We're too late. No, he said. Not yet. They moved down fast. Dane kicked the vault door open with one powerful strike. Inside, black-armored enemy soldiers were surrounding the container holding the cube. One of them turned toward Dane and froze. It was not human. Its face was long and smooth, almost insect-like, with glowing lines running along its neck and jaw. Its eyes were empty sockets of white light. It raised one hand. Dane raised his weapon. Before either moved, the cube inside the container pulsed. Once, then again, then it exploded in light. Everyone fell. Celia screamed as the light tore through the walls of the vault, not burning, but changing everything. Time stopped. Sound faded. And then, they weren't in the vault anymore. They were standing in a vast, dark space. No floor, no ceiling, no sky. Just stars around them. Floating. Endless. In front of them, the cube hovered, glowing. A voice filled the void. Not one language, but all languages. Celia felt it in her mind. You have brought the key to the gate. The decision must be made. Dane stood tall. What decision? To wake what sleeps, or to bury the truth forever? Images filled the space again. Worlds dying, galaxies falling into silence. Civilizations erased, but there were other images too. Small ones. A girl hiding in a dome. A human reaching out his hand. A blaster shared. A ladder climbed. Trust born in ruins. Celia stepped forward. What are you? We are memory. We are warning. We are the lock, not the weapon. Dane looked at the enemy soldier, now frozen like a statue in this timeless place. Why attack us? Why destroy? They were made to awaken us, but they no longer remember why. They only follow what was programmed. Destroy, recover, rebuild. Celia reached for Dane's hand. Then what happens now? One of you must decide. The cube was meant for the Deathworlder, but it has chosen both. The cube floated between them. Dane looked at her. If we open the gate, it might start something we can't stop. But if we bury it, she said, we stay blind. He nodded. You saw what I saw. So tell me, Celia, do we take the risk? She took a long breath. Her world had already been burned, her people scattered, but they were still here, still standing, because one human had chosen to save one girl, not because he was ordered to, but because he chose to. I say we open it, she said softly. We face what's coming. Dane smiled just a little. I was hoping you'd say that. They touched the cube together. The space around them shattered. They fell back into the vault. The enemy soldiers were gone, vanished. The lights returned. The ship was silent. And the cube was gone. But something had changed. Dane stood, looking at his hands. A faint glow traced along his skin, like something ancient had marked him. Celia stood too. Her eyes were glowing faintly as well. Rollick's voice came through the comms. The enemy ships are gone. Just vanished. What did you do? Dane looked at Celia. We opened the gate. The door behind them burst open. Coalition. Officers entered, weapons raised. But they paused when they saw the two standing in the vault. Something was different now. Something bigger had begun. And though the war had only just started, one thing was clear. The galaxy no longer feared the Deathworlder. Now, it would follow him. And beside him, always, the alien girl who chose to believe. Together, they were not soldiers, not leaders. They were the first light before a greater storm, and the future had already started watching.